here's our new leaf spring. 3 leaves, which will be reduced to 1 leaf. Same dimensions as the old spring, or at least eye to eye and this dimension. But softer, or will be once we remove the top 2 leaves. So let me get on that. We've got the thinner leaf spring on here. The softer one, I should say. Albeit with the old suspension components, but we're going to give it a test. The only apparent difference is the thickness, if you look there, but should soften it up a bit. Gotta tighten a few nuts down there, stick some jam nuts on here, and go for a quick test. Oh, also note, cargo rack is on, tabs welded, cross brace in the middle, and this little hanger there. It's pretty solid. Don't have a fan yet, so I gotta kind of watch the engine temperature, and it's about 20 degrees C out today, so not sure how it will react, because it does need rejetting. It's running a little bit too lean, or at least the pilot jet is, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, here's our headlamp fixed on there with plenty of zip ties, and here's our switch dangling next to the shifter. Flip that and we've got light. Let's go. Got her warming up. Got our headlamp. Well, it's better. It rides a damn sight nicer with the new spring. It not having rear suspension, there's still some considerable jolting when you go over a bump that passes under the rear tire as well. Engine heated up fast. I measured the inside sort of crook of the cylinder head at about 260 degrees Fahrenheit right after the run, and that wasn't really a long one, but there's this, so we need to get a fan in there and maybe some air ducting. So that's our solution, and we also have the other issue, which is that there's this sort of wobbling about thing because it doesn't have 2 rear wheels to kind of stabilize it there. But we'll sort that out. It is time, said the porcupine, for the new axle to be installed. So I have to disassemble the entire front suspension and install the axle. Well, here we are with the new front axle installed. The apparent difference is minimal. Of course, you can see the somewhat more rounded shackles, the better welds, and of course the lack of the axle being welded together in the middle. The torsion leads have not been connected up yet, and consequently you can see that the body is sort of canted to one side. That's a result of the sort of panhard rod and transverse leaf spring arrangement. That does have to be remedied. Got the torsion beams hooked up there and there with some judicious application of main force and whacking and clamping and so forth. We've got the body to sit properly. So we are now in good order. The bronze bushings have been turned down and press fitted into the go-kart spindles, which of course were previously modified so that the tie rod attachy bits were in the correct place. The same is obviously true of the other one, and as you can see, there is very minimal slop. I must give my very sincere thanks to Tony at Lauer Tool and Die for helping me out. He did me a great kindness. I have, of course, no ability to do this sort of machining and precision work, and it is through his kindness that this was managed at all, so thank you. I got some shims and also that spacer that we needed to go in between the brake assembly and the wheel on the left side, I believe it was. So the next step is to install those and the front brakes on the Trike. I've finally gotten some jack stands so we don't have to prop the Trike up on a milk crate. That will be helpful. 2 jacks at the back. 2 jacks at the front, and the front wheels are off the ground. Alright, we're gonna test fit the new spindle, see how we do. Some play there. Let's see about this. That's minimal. That's pretty damn good. There's some up and down there, but if I hold that firm, yeah, that's doing well right there. Let's see how we do here. I have to get that. That's better. Very little movement, and that's pretty much all from the bolt. That bolt, I get the impression that's been worn down a little bit. This is a little bit tighter. Here's our setup. We've got the new long spindle, 2 shims, and look at that. I can barely move it. Let's try getting the brake assembly on there and check the clearance. Wow, that is nice. You see, because the new shackle is rounded, we have absolutely no clearance issues with the brake assembly, either this way or the other, and there is in fact no need to put a spacer. And I can flip that upside down so we can have the brake pulling towards the chassis or up, or really any way we want. That's absolutely good to go. Well, I've got the other side on. I had to use 3 shims in there instead of 2 on the other side, just manufacturing differences, but we have good clearance. So my next task is to cut this spacer to length and then put that in between the brake assembly and the innermost bearing and this wheel, which will allow them to rotate independently of one another. We've got the wheel off so you can see where the spacer is going to go, and we'll just put it in now. Now we observe that there is a slight gap, which means I've done it a little bit. I think it's a little bit too far, but hey, brake still works. All I have to do is grind it down a bit. There, that's better. Less gap, we've got the spacing just about right. In the next video, I will be building a bracket, which will tie the brake assembly to this, so that the thing will swivel with it, but will not rotate with the wheel when the brake is engaged. We may also be running some brake cables.